Hey everyone, it's Caitlin and welcome to another video. Spring is officially upon us, which means it is time for me to film some spring dessert recipes and share them all with you guys. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 different vegan, obviously, recipes that are more inspired by spring. For once, there is no chocolate in this dessert video, which is quite revolutionary, though I do have other chocolate videos if you still want chocolate. But these recipes are more inspired by citrusy and brighter flavors. So we're going to be making some Lemon Poppyseed Energy Bites, which is more of a snack, less of a dessert. We're also going to be making some vegan lemon bars, and last but certainly not least, we're going to be making some vegan carrot cake with a cashew cream frosting. And carrot cake, to me at least, is like the most quintessential spring dessert, so I was very excited about that recipe. I'm excited to share all of them with you, but let's just go ahead and get right into it. First up, we're going to be making some Lemon Poppyseed Energy Bites. This recipe is very easy, uses minimal ingredients, and you can make it all in your blender or food processor. So we're going to start out by adding some rolled oats and cashews to a blender, and you're going to blend those until they form a fine flour. You can do this in a food processor as well, but it probably won't be as fine. That's just up to you and your personal preference. Then we're going to add in the rest of the ingredients, which includes some lemon zest, some lemon juice, some maple syrup for some natural sweetness, vanilla extract, and some nut butter. I am using cashew butter here to keep things consistent with the cashews, but you could use almond butter. I wouldn't really recommend using peanut butter, but you could use coconut butter or tahini if you have a nut allergy too. Either way, you're just going to process all this together until it forms a nice dough. I did add some water to help it stick together a little bit more, but the full details are in the recipe, which is linked in the description below. And then I took my dough out of the blender and added in poppy seeds and folded them in by hand, just because I didn't want any of the seeds to break up in the blender, and I thought they'd be easier to evenly mix into the dough this way. However, if you're lazier and you don't care, you can just throw those in with your remaining ingredients when you blend everything together the first time. Either way, you're going to scoop this. I am using a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop to form little balls, and then I just roll it out with my hand to make it more of a perfect circle. The cookie scoop comes in handy. I love it a lot, but you can also just use 2 tablespoons or a tablespoon twice, and it has the same effect, obviously. But you're just going to continue this with the rest of your dough, and then you are ready to go. I like to store these bites in the fridge. You can store them in the freezer, but they will be a lot more firm. And I wanted these bites to be fluffier, sort of like lemon poppy seed cake. And as you can see, they're nice and fluffy. They're obviously not as fluffy as cake, but they're still really delicious and a perfect snack. So next up, we're gonna make some vegan lemon bars, and I am very excited about this recipe. I put a lot of effort into it, but today, the day before I'm supposed to post this video, I looked on my computer and half of the footage is missing. So here's a cute picture of a sloth while I apologize. I really don't know what happened, guys. I'm still going to share the recipe because I want you guys to make it, and I put a lot of work into it, and I do really apologize for my lack of organization. I am going to get my ish together, and I promise this should not happen again. Luckily, I found the base recipe for this is very similar to my sweet potato pie bars, so I found the footage for that, and I'm going to show you that at least. The base recipe is exactly the same, except instead of pecans, you're going to use almonds, and you're just going to add some almonds and rolled oats into a food processor, process those until they form a fine flour, and then once it forms a fine flour, you're going to add in a thickened flax egg as well as a tablespoon of maple syrup and some salt. So the only difference between this recipe and the other one is that this one I added some sweetness to the base, because usually lemon bars have a sweeter crust on the bottom. But then again, you're just going to process this until it forms a nice sticky dough, and you can make this in a food processor or a blender, and all you're going to do is pour it into a 9x9 inch baking tray and then press it down with your fingers. And I would actually suggest making this in a blender because you make the filling for the lemon bars in the blender, and unfortunately I don't have any of that footage, so I sincerely apologize. I really don't know what happened and I'm kind of embarrassed. But you're going to make the filling using very simple ingredients. We're just going to be using some soaked cashews, maple syrup, lemon juice, lemon zest, vanilla extract, and a little bit of turmeric for color, as well as some arrowroot powder to help thicken things up. It will be linked in the recipe description below, so you can check it out if you want. But here I have the blended lemon bar filling, and I'm just putting it onto the tray with the pressed down pie crust, and then you're just going to use a spatula to spread it out. The other vegan lemon bars on the internet that I saw, some of them use tofu, but I wanted to keep the soy free, and some of them use coconut milk, but I found that when I did this, the bars tasted way too coconutty, and I found that using cashews and arrowroot powder was the best combination. You can use cornstarch or tapioca flour, but I honestly wouldn't recommend it because they bake differently in the oven, are going to yield a different texture. But once you have your lemon bar filling pressed, you're going to bake it in the oven, and this is what it's going to look like. It may come out a little bit soft initially, but it will firm up as it cools, and then once the bars have cooled completely, you can slice them and serve them as desired. I put them on this fancy little cake stand because I was trying to be fancy, and yeah. Typically, lemon bars are topped with powdered sugar, so I decided to do that. You can do that too if you would like. I just blended regular vegan cane sugar in my blender until it formed a powdered sugar, but there are also some vegan powdered sugars out there if you want. I also topped it with a lemon slice, which is more for the aesthetic, less for the flavor, because I don't think people really want to eat a lemon slice on top of lemon bars. I don't know, but either way, these lemon bars are delicious. I'm sorry you couldn't see the whole process of them being made, but I still hope that you try them out. And last but not least, we're going to be making some vegan carrot cake. Like I said in the video intro, this recipe just screams spring to me, and it's also my dad's favorite cake, so I had to do him justice. So we're going to start out by mixing our wet ingredients together, which includes some coconut sugar and some applesauce, as well as some non-dairy milk. I used cashew milk here, but you can use any unsweetened milk. And then we're also going to add in some vanilla extract, and then just whisk all of this together until the coconut sugar becomes dissolved in the liquid. Then you can just set that aside while we whisk all of our dry ingredients together. And I wanted to keep things pretty easy, so we're going to be using oat flour as the base for this recipe. We're also going to add in some baking powder and some salt. And then for our carrot cake spices, we have some nutmeg, some ginger, and some cinnamon. So you're going to add those in and then just whisk everything together until the spices are evenly incorporated. And you want to kind of form a well in the center of the dry ingredients, and then pour the wet ingredients right on in there, and then just use a spatula to mix everything together until there are no more clumps. And the good thing about gluten-free baking is that you really can't overmix it because there's no gluten. But yeah, just mix it together until you have a nice dough, and then we have to add in our carrots, and then I'm also adding in some chopped pecans here. You could use walnuts if you want, but I personally like carrot cake better when there are pecans in it. So you're going to fold those into the batter. And then again, once everything is evenly mixed, you're going to transfer this into a greased baking pan. I'm using a 9x9-inch baking pan here. Though if you wanted to make this a traditional cake, you could easily use a circle pan, and you could double this recipe to make a carrot cake with a filling as well. I just decided to keep it pretty simple and make more of a square cake. But you're going to pop that in the oven, and while that bakes, we are going to make our cashew cream cheese frosting. Now, the base recipe for this would just be some soaked cashews with some lemon juice and maple syrup for sweetness. But if you want to take things to the next level, I would also suggest adding a pinch of salt. You should add that anyways. But I added a little bit of nutritional yeast. This helps give it a cheesy flavor. It doesn't taste like cheese, but it just definitely gives more depth of flavor to the recipe. So that's up to you, but you're going to add all this together and blend it with some filtered water. And you want to add the least amount of filtered water as possible. This is definitely going to depend on your blender, but you're going to gradually add it into the blender until you get a smooth cream cheese like consistency. And then once that's done and your cake comes out of the oven, you're going to immediately remove the cake from the baking tray and then transfer it onto a cooling rack to let it cool completely. I wouldn't frost it before it cooled completely because it might do something funky. I wouldn't recommend that. But then once your cake has completely cooled, you can frost it as desired. I like to put a nice thick layer up on there. I'm all about the frosting. Well, actually, typically I'm more about the cake, but when it's cashew cream cheese frosting, I'm all about the frosting. So put your frosting layer on as thick or thin as you would like. And then I wanted to keep things pretty classic here, and I finally chopped up some more pecans and sprinkled those on top, and that is it. Look at how pretty and delicious it is. I cut my carrot cake into bars, obviously because I made a square cake, but if you make it round, you could cut it into cake slices as well. Either way, it's super yummy. and you should make it. And there you have it. Let me know in the comments below which one of these recipes was your favorite and which one you want to make first. And let me know any other spring recipe suggestions that you guys have for me, especially in the sweet department. I don't know what you guys typically think of when you think of spring desserts, but I definitely think of more like berries and seasonal fruits, and spring has just begun, so there's still plenty of time for me to film and make more recipes for you guys. If this is your first time viewing one of my videos and you like what you see here, feel free to give it a little thumbs up and subscribe right down there. I post 2 new videos every single week. And yeah, I hope you guys are having an awesome day and continue to have an awesome day, whatever time of day it is for you. And I hope to see you in the next video, and happy spring. Bye guys.